All right. Peace and bless. Haki Ami here, the Success Scholar. Thank you for tuning in. The Honorable One, Asafo, thank you for tuning in. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. Want to take some time here. Hope everybody's enjoying the week and coming up here. Hope your new year, if you want to call it that, has been extraordinary. And here we have a so-called leap year, but definitely want to shout outs that just came from an amazing event, African Black History Month, if you will. But I wanted to have this conversation, man. It's long overdue. I wanted to do this like a few weeks ago, but I'm sort of push being, a Safo as a true. I don't want to say I'm an elder, but just someone in the conscious movement who has put in work to establish a substantive and true quality movement within the African consciousness community, and I believe that it's my right and ability and leadership and responsibility to give an analysis and encourage us to really be critical and self-critical as well. I mean, when we're critical of others, we have to be critical, of ourselves, and that comes from, a personal self-development type of thing, inner reflection. This is what, our ancestors, true ancestors, taught us to look at who we are at a particular time in history and be able to bring out the best in terms of African-centered leadership. And one thing I had to realize, this YouTube and online has really made many of us do things that and become individuals that we wouldn't usually become, and say things that in an African-centered tradition we wouldn't necessarily have people teaching us that didn't come up through a rites or some type of, council of elders in the context of their IWA, their behavior. So I just wanted to, show you all a copy of this book. And yes, I'm dedicating this book to both Dr. Umar Johnson and Irritated Genie. These brothers are around my age, and they've kind of got out there and made some things happen, and for themselves and for just the movement. And I feel that unfortunately many elders have failed them, actually, to fail to speak out, to reach out, to try to get them to really act in a true ma'at fashion. So, what do I mean? And I don't have to be too specific, but I'm forced to do this right now because it's like, they are sort of out of hand and out of pocket, really. And, it takes me, someone who walked with both of them on some level and, had both of them in my presence, actually helped them market their books and their products and everything, had them on my shows for different times, so I've really kind of, have assisted them reach different audiences. And so, but when I saw some things early, I had to really reflect on my direction as a man, and what I'm learning and what we are all collectively learning from each other, and to understand how I need to move and make sure that I'm around. Because, unfortunately, many powerful brothers and sisters, we put ourselves out there where we unfortunately have too much influence and too much power, where we believe that we are, we can do and say anything and don't have any repercussions to, our elders and to our peers, to our mates, and to the come in the next generation. And so, I just wanted to show a few things in this book, and I'm very, I'm saddened actually by some of the recent actions that I've heard, and I'm just like, man, this is sad. This is a sad day that many people may not feel that they can come into the African Senate community for protection. They don't feel that they are true quality men amongst, and not to suggest that these brothers are not necessarily men, but it's like some of the things that they do. It's like, come on, brother, you just can't throw your life away like that, right? So I'm just encouraging these brothers to take some time, take some time out to read our elder Jegna and Walimu Barudi's book. Just sit, and kind of meditate, do some libations or whatever it is that you do, and just kind of reflect on, what a warrior, the critical role of a warrior's character. So, I just wanted to kind of review this book, EY, Warrior's Character. And if anybody want to get this, EY, I believe, I'm sorry, I should know that, but I read this book some time ago, and it's from the Yoruba Ifa tradition. It means character. And I'm like, when we are going through a process of de-whitenization and re-Africanization, it is essential that as we get older, we certainly should be demonstrating more wisdom in our speech, divine speech, and then in our action, and of course in our thoughts. And so it's essential that first and foremost, the first revolution and the first nation building begins with the family. And so if we're not, there with our families, of course, and yes, and we should make children with responsible black queens that are actually in a process of re-Africanization, de-whitenization, and nation building, family development and nation building. And so if that's not being done, we shouldn't be reproducing, like Dr. Francis Cress Welsing said. So, but, I'm just going to kind of browse a few of these. I'm not going to be long, but, and I didn't want this to be like a more of a slanderous type of discussion. And you all, perhaps some of you that know me, know, I've had my share, but, I've always had some level of decency about what levels of disagreements, and I've gotten a lot better, actually. And so I don't really get into many beef, shall I say, because I think that if we learn from history, and yes, I have on Malcolm X shirt, and actually let me just give a shout out. I moderated a panel at the university just 2 days ago. If you haven't seen the meeting, it's a theoretical meeting between Malcolm X and Dr. Martin Luther King, and the conversation that they had. So it's very, man, I just wanted to cry actually hearing both gentlemen, kind of go back and forth about their philosophies and, how they felt or how they could have felt at that time. So I just encourage people to definitely check that out. It's called The Meeting. It's an actual play. Right after Malcolm X Malcolm X's bombing of his house, that Dr. King theoretically came to his house. So, or some of the little chapters that, and I can't be too long with this, but because you all can read it, but Imali Mubaruti is based out of Atlanta. He has several books, several amazing books, but so, they talk about individuality versus communalism, right? Reason and meaning, the context of war, choices, neophyte rules, a healer spirit, I think I did recall reading that chapter. The Conway on becoming human. That's essential. That's essential. Gorillas rules, student guidelines, complementarity, the quality of IWA in love. Let me kind of go to that. Let's see what I recall. Okay. All right, let me kind of just read a little bit here. Ideally, apparent evidence of the rightness of an Asapho's character. Sappho is a con word, just so everybody know, can be found in his or her advancements due to sequentially ordered rites and stages traditionally intended to more firmly anchor individuals into their society. In this specific African context, the beginning of a warrior's adulthood is initiated through and defined within a mature heterosexual relationship. Adulthood is defined by the intimate attachment that can only truly exist in the African reality between a man and a woman. Character is found in following established traditions of what makes righteous people in the Creator's eyes, right? It is understood within the context of knowing that millions of us who became honored ancestors passed down the best expression of our humanity for us to emulate. Now, I have to ask this question, right? If we have individuals out here that are teaching our children and desire to be on the front line, and there's a level of psychological control and manipulation within the movement. Now, here's what's happening. Unfortunately, many, and I'm gonna try to be, and stand in my eye as I'm expressing this, but many black men, is definitely under attack, and unfortunately, many of us are psychologically traumatized in our relationships, and yes, it should be understood that many times it's easier for black women, within this society to join and to align themselves with our oppressors, right? For survival, right? That's actually happening. Unfortunately, it's an unfortunate reality. And many are captured mentally, oh shoot, mentally and emotionally and psychologically speaking. I'm sorry, I got I got my laptop on and I thought I was still talking in this microphone, but I'm doing this on the phone because my laptop didn't work out right. But so when we are engaged in male-female relationships, many of us are coming from not seeing functionality, not seeing development, not seeing a process where we see family in an African consciousness paradigm, right? So, unfortunately, I'd say, for even females, even if they have fathers in their homes, for conscious black men, I'm sorry, yes, can you hear me? Oh, for conscious black men, many aren't, you know, most of the brothers who are conscious, even the men who the women actually had as fathers, are not as astute and refined, and even more than likely, if the man is around, the father figure is around, more than likely he has some level of European insanity. So, it's just like, you know, and I've seen this over and over. And many black men, who are truly conscious, are more of a man than these men are, and there's been cases where, for instance, I've had to, say, I mean, no, I can't. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna